Thank you for joining The Upper Deck by Pinstripe Chronicles. I'm Chris, and I'm here today with Lynn. And we have a great show lined up for you today. There's so much to talk about that we, it's just where to get started. I think one of the things that we want to talk about today is what teams we're worried about right now, as we have been in a bit of a slump. And, Lynn, what concerns you?
So looking at the standings, MLB wide, some of the worries are the same they've always been. Dodgers clearly are number one, across all of baseball at the moment. Houston is about neck and neck with us. So and the Red Sox, which we'll have a lot to say about, we numerically don't have to worry about them, but we'll talk about by the numbers. To me, though, the late worry, the surprise worry is the Mariners, and not just because they swept us.
Yeah.
Just recently, they're a lock and loaded team, and in particular, Game 2 was really, really painful. For those of you that hung in there, I hung in there between cat naps, but Game 2 is the game where we went 13 innings, and Daniel Kramer from MLB.com. Wrote an article, and the first line is what caught my eye, where he says it'll go down as one of the greatest games of the 2022 season.
Yeah.
And wait, like, I know I was sleepy, but what the hell is he talking about? We lost, because everything's like, no, it wasn't. We lost. What do you think?
It wasn't great for us.
It wasn't great for us, so it's not great for anyone. Mm-hmm. But he said that we threw the proverbial punches back and forth the whole game, and that there was pure filth from both bullpens. So, and the pitching to begin with was between two all-star workhorses, which is entirely true. So if it were not for that, walk-off in the bottom of the 13th, that was the painful part. That we just couldn't get it done in the end. But, in terms of good baseball, good competitive baseball, nail-biting baseball, he's not wrong.
Right.
But that's when the worry, seeped in for me. Is,
right.
If we're facing them in the championship,
right.
They're not the Mariners anymore.
Right.
They're the Mariners. They're built and ready.
Yeah.
It seems.
Well, the Yankees, since the All-Star break, have been on would you say a bit of a roller coaster, or mostly flatlining? They've been a disappointment in the second half, and partly due to, thank you to the Mariners, and now we're playing the Red Sox, our nemesis, and the first game we dropped. And this is just so dispiriting for Yankee fans. I mean, am I worried about this team? Yeah, you come in and you lose to the Red Sox, who don't beat anybody. We're 16.5 games up on Boston, and I'm still worried.
Yeah, and you're right to be worried, because there's definitely well more than 16 games left to be played. And I'm not suggesting that Boston is going to win every single game until the wild cards. But we can't discount anybody.
No.
And I know, Chris, you mentioned before we came on that, there's a lot of fans out there who on one side, I admire them because it's that Yankee believe mentality, which I'm solidly one leg in on.
Right.
That, like, what is everyone worried about? We're in the playoffs, but the truth is, we're not until we are.
Exactly.
Right, and so. And that first game was unacceptable. That loss, it was sloppy baseball.
Yeah.
And they just showed us up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. It's unacceptable. The whole the Yankee statistics in this since the All-Star break have been unacceptable. Really, the longest losing streak was August 2nd through August 7th. And the longest winning streak, and this surprised me, was April 2nd through May 3rd. Those winning streaks are few and far between, although the first half certainly seemed to me to be one long winning streak practically. Right. I know that's an over, exaggeration, but since that time, where the losing has been what we've experienced.
Right. And, and then in addition to that, Chris, there's a tweet I saved from Yankees Source at Yankees Source, which really gave me the sads. The Yankees have played Houston twice, the Mets twice, Seattle 3 times, the Cards 3 times, and the Mariners 3 times since the All-Star break. And they were 2 for 11 in those games.
Yeah.
So those numbers you just gave combined with this is, give me an IV drip of Nexium.
Oh, absolutely. And, I realize that I'm a fan just like every other fan. And my opinion means nothing. But it seems that since the trade of Monty, the acquisition of Bader, who's injured, for Monty, the way that acquisition came about, us somehow losing out on Pablo Lopez in Miami, and whether it's true or not, the rumor is that Cashman got played, which I don't believe for 1 minute. I don't know about you.
I like thinking about it.
Oh, yeah, I love thinking about it.
But I think that's where the Glaber rumor came in at the last minute.
I think so, too. If
he had won, Glaber would have been the one gone.
Right. I mean, and this is a product of ownership. It seems like Hal wants a team, and Marxist Waldmanist tweeted this out. Hal wants a team that will vie for the playoffs. He's not going to spend to build a juggernaut. We just have to have hope that we get hot and lucky at 1 October and the ghosts finally come back. And I thought that was very telling and very on point.
Yeah, and so, I'm going to start referring to Hal as 3 C's.
Yeah.
He's cheap, he's complacent, and, I forgot the third. He's cheap and complacent and whatever.
Right.
Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
This is my Sunday thing, guys. If you don't know it, caffeine deprived. And so, you can't think that way. And if that's coming from the top, that's a bad. His grandfather is probably knocking, really loud from, on his ceiling, like from above, saying,
right.
yo, that's not how I raised you.
In the meantime, as Hal is coming off this way, we've got the captain running simultaneously to this second half of the Yankee season, and it's showing up exactly where this team falls short. Yes. And that is that killer instinct to win.
That's right.
The killer instinct to win is not in this team.
Right. And that was George's era. And so we've done a few shows where we focused on the comparison between 98 and this team.
Right.
And, the documentary reminded me, well, there's really hasn't been much of a comparison lately, actually, for quite a long time, and certainly not at the trade deadline. So anyone out there that hasn't watched the documentary, whether you're a Jeter fan or not, if you lived through, the dynasty years, I admitted to Chris before we went live that I cried as much during the last two episodes as I did, watching The Notebook, for crying out loud. It was that sentimental for me, just to relive those moments. And for those of you that were too young to remember, watch that. It is an amazing journey through Yankee history.
Yeah.
And when we refer to the dynasty, those are the years we're referring to. And I found it fascinating, Chris, particularly, without giving much away at all, Jeter's relationship with Cashman.
Yeah.
And even back then, it was about the dollars.
Right.
And so maybe that's one comparison that remains.
It's a cautionary tale for Aaron Judge.
It sure is, because they were ready to let Jeter walk.
Yep. Another point of contention that fans are expressing right now with the front office or with Cashman, and that is that there are some holes in this team. And I mean, all right, Bader's going to fill that center field hole if he comes back in September. I say if. I mean, they don't know when he will recover from plantar fasciitis. There is no timetable that I have been told, or that I've read as to when to expect him. So if for the postseason, all right, but basically what people are clamoring about is, why don't they bring up the young guns? Where are the stellar performers that's happening down in AAA, et cetera? For example, Oswald Peraza to MLB Resurgence Bandwagon said, Cashman is such a bad GM for a contending team. He's great for a small market rebuilding team since he loves service time manipulation.
Yes.
And signing washed star players for cheap.
Yeah. And you get what you pay for. Right?
I agree. Thank you, Lynn.
You get what you pay for. And we've seen that in so many iterations. We don't have time in 30 minutes to list them all.
No, we don't.
But you get what you pay for when you. I'm going to quote Samantha forever. You get what you pay for when you trade for a boot.
Yes.
And to your point, the most specific I've heard is mid-September.
Right.
What does that even mean? It means zero.
Yep.
And so, just going off the digressing for a minute. So, the Achilles heel issue with Stanton, not even seeing him in the dugout. And so that puts the outfield in bigger jeopardy.
Right.
We have Hicks, who has been trash. And so there's just, no regrets on releasing Gallo. That had to happen. But, and don't assume you're making the playoffs.
That's what I thought when I heard Cashman's plan. Why are you planning for a postseason that we have not realized yet?
Exactly.
I understand that you have to be that way. I guess to a certain extent, you have to think toward the future, but the things that were needed in this lineup, like a center fielder, like once we lost Monty, like a starting pitcher who could be a number two. I mean, Montas came in, but all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. So Montas came in.
Yeah. And what you Chris, so Monty, how do you feel he's doing in his new home?
Yeah. I mean, since he's left, he's setting records with the Cardinals. I think that I read today that he's 2-0 in his first starts, and he has not given up a run, and that hasn't been done by Cardinals pitcher since like 1946. So I'm happy for Monty. Yeah, that worked out great for him. Meanwhile, back in Yankee land, we're on the skids. I don't know. I'm not saying it's starting pitching. Herman did a good job. He was did the best job he could have done for us with the lack of offense that we got.
Right. And Mutas, not exactly what you want last night.
No.
So he definitely he got out of a couple of jams, thankfully. But he gave up runs early, a la Cole, and so he was pulled relatively early, which left us with bringing in the bullpen earlier, starting with Lutke.
Right.
So, and Chapman had to come out twice.
Yeah.
So he took the 7th and the 8th, and then the big question was who's coming out in the 9th.
Yeah.
So, which turned out to be Efros. But yeah. So giving Monty away benefited nobody but Monty.
Exactly.
And that's what I call instant karma.
Yeah.
But
thank you.
To our detriment. And so, and where Cashman's coming from, and it was reinforced during the documentary, that was George's mentality. It's not a successful season unless you win the World Series.
That's right.
Which and Jeter shared that mentality. And so but that could really, with your head. Because, that's how you roll your dice. And, when it comes to acquisitions and these calculated risks.
Yeah.
Really, other than Benintendi, who is finally showing some payoff, what have we really gotten?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Speaking of what have we really got, who's hot, who's not right now? Mm-hmm. That's I think an interesting topic.
Yeah, let's go there.
The Yankee offense in general is not hot. Let me just say that to start with.
Yeah, absolutely, and that includes Judge, and that's been for a minute. He did reach, what'd you say, Chris? Number 46, right?
46, yeah, he got 46.
So he's getting those home runs still, but that small ball we've talked about, as recently as a couple of weeks ago, not really seeing much production on bases. So, am I concerned? No, he's Aaron Judge.
Oh, but, yeah.
Glaber, has been a hot mess at the plate.
Yep. I've got some numbers for Glaber here.
Yeah.
At Yankee World gave these numbers. Glaber Torres is slashing 183 /221/293 and a .514 OPS since the All-Star break, with just 2 homers and just 1 extra base hit. We really need him to start hitting.
And we thought that he got robbed from being an All-Star. At the time, we were right to feel that way. But it's not just a slump; it's a slump or a slump.
Yes.
Or a slump. It's been bad. It's been bad.
Yeah.
So
it's not been good for him. However, on the other hand, it's also not been very good for Hicks. He's not improved his game recently, and he continues to struggle at the plate.
Yeah, and the question really is, do we eat his contract and DFA him? And do we keep him around and just not utilize him? Same difference.
Yeah.
But hello, you that Boot guy is supposed to be like a monster at the plate.
Right.
But until then, what do we have?
Right.
And so other than whatever we could, taxi squad up, which also isn't what we want. So the outfield, nothing has been solved.
No.
Allegedly, it'll be solved in October in the playoffs.
And if it's not, I guess we're going in with Hicks, right?
Yeah. And no timetable on Stanton. I'm tired of. We're probably at 23 weeks of hearing that. He's doing this. He's doing reps. He's running the bases. He's
right.
He's MIA.
And and if you consider what you just said about Aaron Judge at the plate lately, he's got no protection. He is walking. They are walking Judge more than they had been. We need Stanton back. I mean, Stanton is a very important part of this team, of this, the machine that is the Yankee offense.
Right. That's right. And most especially offensively. And and when he gets back after this long of a stretch, which essentially has been since the All-Star break, he's going to need time. He's not going to come floating in and be the Stanton we were used to.
Right.
I'd be very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
And and then there's DJ, who
right,
has been carrying the weight.
Yeah.
But even he, there's no worry. He's by far not slumping, but he most consistently has been, carrying the plate.
Yeah.
With a few surprising exceptions.
Yes, and I have some numbers for DJ. Since the beginning of July, 31 games since the beginning of July. He's got a 342 average, which is first among AL infielders. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
A 183 WRC plus, again, first among infielders. 17.7 base on ball percentage, second amongst AL infielders. And a 459 OBP, which is first among AL infielders. So, I mean, he's having a stellar campaign.
He really is.
You just can't say enough about him at the top of the lineup, getting on base, getting the machine started. DJ is definitely one that's been hot.
Yeah. And his usual spectacalar self on, defensively as well.
Right. And, someone else who's been hot, Benintendi. He first came in, he seemed a little maybe timid or something, but that's worn off.
Yeah. There's a couple of things with Benintendi. First of all, we're seeing, his bat connecting finally. And also he made a tremendous diving catch, like he was on a water slide after he caught it yesterday.
Yeah.
That really should be on a highlight reel. If it wasn't last night, that's a shame. So, and we were okay with Benintendi coming, and at least that's proving out. Like I'm speaking for all of Twitter land, but
right. All of fan land.
Yeah. And then should we talk about the Christmas present we got from a certain player?
Absolutely.
So IKF, man, it's because of him we're playing a rubber game today.
Yeah.
He he carried the entire team last night and hit his first Yankee home run. And, brought a couple of men along with him. And also just no mistakes defensively. We've seen some sloppy stuff. But, I don't have the numbers of production last night, but it wasn't just a home run.
Right.
At all, near. And it's like, who is this? And can you stay?
Yes, thank you. It was finally the IKF game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was 3 for 4.
Something like unreal. And, I really thank the good Lord that this wasn't at Yankee Stadium. So we didn't have to hear, the short porch. It went
I know.
Friggin' monster. So booyah.
Exactly. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. And yes again. And
yeah.
A couple of other hot people, players who were hot. Scott Efros. You mentioned him briefly before. Did you want to say anything more about?
Sure. Yeah. He's a kid. He's new to the team. Bottom of the ninth is a high pressure situation for anyone. And he shut those Red Sox down. And he's also the end game reason why, we have a chance to take the series today.
Right.
Which we get to.
I mean, we have a Holmes problem. And suddenly Chapman looks like our closer to be again, which I didn't think we'd say that again this year. But
no. So, he was lights out. So he came out in the 7th and the 8th and just put them to bed. And so it was really great to see. But you're right. We have a problem at home. And, I have to mention my sister, Karen Delaney. We were talking last night, and she said, it's not just a slump kind of problem with Holmes. She said, she coaches a softball team. Oh. She really knows the game, and she's as diehard, if not more, than me. Said that it's more than that. She really suspects there's something physical going on.
Yeah.
That it's not just a location problem and not just a mechanical fix needed.
Right.
She's seeing a difference in his fluidity, just his ease of motion.
It has to be something like that.
Yeah. Much akin to, DJ playing injured.
Right.
So. Yeah. And I said, I hope you're wrong.
Yeah.
But
I know. I hate to cut you off there, but I wanted to ask you if you had a trivia question this week.
I do.
Excellent.
Yes. And so let me get right to it. And my biggest challenge is finding something that might stump Spencer for a change.
Yeah, exactly. We love you, Spence.
And that was with admiration for sure.
Yeah.
So in which of these years did the Yankees win in what years did the Yankees win 5 World Series in a row? So there's a time span there that talk about a dynasty, more than a dynasty. 5 years in a row, World Championships.
Right.
And here's the bonus question. The players on that team are known as the October 12.
Wow.
Name one of them, and you get extra credit. And the only hint I'll give you is that one of them should come to mind. So it really is a tricky question, and it's always Scout honor.
Yeah, we love these trivia questions. Oh my gosh, that I'm stumped, of course. And
I didn't have the answer.
Yeah, I just want you guys to go out there, talk about it, find out the answer to this trivia question. When you're doing that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And thank you so much for joining us this week.
And as always, every Sunday you have a reserved seat with Chris and me right here on the upper deck. Let's go, Yankees!
Let's go, Yankees!